Good morning. I wanted to show y'all my medicinals bed, my wild things medicinals bed. And I want to point out a few things to you. I actually got this area roped off. I've got my keep out sign. Kenny's weed eater guy just got done. He's got a new one. The young guy, he's really great, and he's not weed eating where I tell him to weed eat. So I wanted to point out some plants to you this morning first, and then we're going to do another video a little later. So I wanted to show you this plant right here. Now this is called cleavers. Cleavers are highly nutritious. They're also where we call stick tights come from, or there's some other name in other regions that they're called, but they're those little sticky things that stick to you when you walk through grass. Now this plant is kind of coarse. It's got like a texture, almost a Velcro texture to it. Now it's got a lot of medicinal uses. I'll do a video on that later in detail, but I wanted to show you what you can find in just a small area. And I'm sure that you grab handfuls of these things that I'm going to show you and toss them out when you're doing a flower bed, because you think they're horrible, and some of them are invasive. They get carried away, like the dead nettle. Once I cut a couple of bags full of the dead nettle to dry, then yeah, I'm coming out here and I'm pulling it up so that it covered a bunch of my virosis, so I didn't know that I actually had more than I thought I did. So the dead nettle grows right here next to the cleavers. Now I want to show you this. Now these two plants look very similar, but they're not. This is the dead nettle. It's got kind of a texture to it. This is called henbit. And henbit, I'm sorry y'all, ever since the time change, my trimmers have been worse. And something that my daughter and I have noticed through the years is that the week or two after time goes forward and time goes back, my trimmers are worse. But anyway, this is called henbit. I'm trying to get it in focus. That's why. Okay, so henbit is different, and henbit also has a lot of nutritional uses, medicinal uses, and it's called henbit because hens, when I had my little hen Ruby, she would just come out here and eat this stuff all up. Now, the last of my chickweed, it's starting to kind of turn brown now, but I've pulled up a lot to dry, and every day I pull up a lot to eat. Now, this right here is a lactuca. This is one I've almost decided is a cereola because it has the lobed leaf on its young leaves. Now, when I break it, you can see the milk sap coming out. I hope you can anyway. Well, there's milk sap coming out. Now this one right here, this is the one that I am unsure about, that I think may be a canadensis. I did have one of those plants in with the rest of my plants, and so of course it's seeded. Now, as I move over here, I've got several mullein plants, and mullein is a particular plant that something it emits in its roots is not good for a lot of other plants that grow near it. But as you can see, these wild things are growing really well near it. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I think I've got another one over there. So I've got 9 plants just right in this area. And so I come out and I cut the little leaves on the outside only. I leave the inner rosette alone. And I let it continue growing. But I harvest these. The mullein is good for many things, upper respiratory primarily. Now I want to, man, y'all, those years of skateboarding and my knees show up sometimes. Now I want to show you right side by side here. Oh, and I love this. I've got a dandelion bloom. I have plenty of dandelions. These 2 lactuca plants side by side right here. You can see the one leaf here, deeply serrated. And there is the sap that's coming out when I pinch the leaf. And then here's the lobed one. Now these are side by side. I've got several of them. Now this one with the serrated edge does not have any purple tinge on it. So that's why I'm not positively calling it a verosa plant. Because where I have seen the verosas, they have a purple tinge on them. And this plant does not. But it is a lactuca plant, so I'm guessing it's a canadensis. Okay, now let's move along over here. I'm going to lay my glasses down, y'all. I know y'all can't tell me to remember to pick them up, but I'm hoping I don't forget. Now right in here, here's our little violets. Now the violet blooms taste like, I want to say radishy. It's got a nice little bite to it. I eat the blooms and the leaves regularly. And when they're blooming, man, my salads are so good. Okay, now let's move along over here. Poor old knees. Now, in here with dandelions, here is another. Now this is a verosa because I can see the purple tinge to the leaves. It's growing in the way that I have learned to recognize it. So I definitely have canadensis in here with the verosa and the cereola. I'm going to let those canadensis grow up and see what their nature is, because I didn't pay attention to it last year. I thought I just had the 2 varieties. So that's something we're going to learn about this year, y'all. Okay, now right here I've got dandelion blooms. Dandelion blooms in the spring are delicious. They really, really are. You should have you some. Okay, now here is another lactuca. This is the one I'm pretty sure is the canadensis, because look at that tip right there. That looks arrow-like. And that is what I have seen as a descriptor of the canadensis versus the verosa. Now, right here next to it, here's me a verosa. And I know it for sure because that little tip right there has a purple tinge to it. Now, you see all the clover. This is the red clover, which is good for women's hormonal issues. That stuff is a miracle. In here I also have white clover, and I seeded all this real heavy myself. You see I've got plenty of cleavers here. Now the cleavers, most people will fry them or boil them down. And like I said, it's a highly nutritious food. It would be a survival food. Right here is my wild mustard growing. I am so proud of that, y'all, because it just came up next to my house. I'm sure it came in on something, and it has just thrived. And so this year, because last year I knew what it was and I scattered the seed, I have them coming up everywhere. When I find them out in the rest of the yard, I do bring them in here to my quarantined area that no one is allowed to weed eat, walk on, unless it's me. Now I want to show you again. This plant right here, it's another Verosa. This is the one I think is the canadensis. It's growing next to a Cereola, which is next to Verosas. Now y'all, I'm going to tell you, the Cereolas have proved very difficult. You see how this one is thriving out here. Try to put that joker in a little pot and ship him. It just wilts. So I may dig some up. I'm learning some better shipping techniques. We'll see what happens. I wish I could just have a stand at a market or something, and just people come and buy them from me, or I wish more people were close by to Lincoln County, Tennessee. I just have them come out here and dig them up out of my beds. That would be fine with me, because my neighbor Dale has them all over his backyard, and I just went out there and I dug up the largest ones. I think his wife will be mowing this afternoon. But here's a little Verosa right there. The purple leaves you can see very well. So here are, and there are probably 50 plants right in here. As the Cereola come up, y'all, I am going to dig them up and I'll discard them. That's why I would like to sell them. But I can't have them growing out here in my yard, because I don't want those plants. They do not yield as many leaves, and that is the whole point. I need the leaves for making tea. And the other thing, if you're a smoker, you can roll the leaves and smoke them, and it helps. Also, something that I have done a time or two with some little damaged leaves that I don't necessarily want to ingest, but I don't want to waste them. I make a little smudge bundle, and what I do is I take some of the icky leaves from these Lactuca plants and the icky leaves from the mullein. You see the withered up, kind of damaged leaves. I take those and I bind them up together. I let them dry out, and then I light them in a little ashtray, and then as the smoke comes up, I bring it in and I inhale. The smell is actually wonderful, but also that helps your lungs. Now, this mullein plant right there, that is just a beautiful, spectacular plant. And I'm taking very good care of it, and I'm not pinching off of it at all. I'm not cutting any leaves at all. I want it to get a little bit bigger before I start doing that. Now, I've already gone 13 minutes, so I'm going to wind this up. But I wanted to show y'all that this is my meals every day. I come out and this is just one section of my yard. I have bountiful, healthy meals. I can stir fry any of this. I can boil any of this into a broth or a soup. I can put them into a soup. I have a miso soup, and I just add these greens to it when I'm cooking the miso soup. And most of them, though, I just eat raw because I enjoy the taste of them. So for today, this video, I'm going to end, and I want y'all to remember to look for these wild things because they're very beneficial to your health. And until the next video, goodbye.